अच्छा जी, बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. Let's discuss these examples. अच्छा जी, first let's finalize their answers. A university professor wanted to analyze in depth. देखें ये this is the statement which is basically a trap to you. ठीक है, this is a statement which is trap to you. The real statement is fortunately a company within 20 miles of the campus employed her as a consultant to study that very issue. To study that very issue, consultant hired, though the professor was interested. Professor was interested, but it was the objective of the company. It was the objective of the company. ठीक है, it was not his objective. The objective was of the company. So he accepted the request because he was already wanted to work on that. बस ठीक है, क्लियर हुई बात. तो बेसिकली ये अप्लाइड है ऊपर वाली. क्लियर हुई बात. और जो लास्ट हमने मेरे ख्याल से यूज़ की थी वो बेसिक आई गेस फाइनल किया था, तो फाइनल है. आगे चलें, यहाँ तक क्लियर सबको. नेक्स्ट. अच्छा जी, लेट्स मूव अहेड. मैनेजर्स एंड रिसर्च. You see, being knowledgeable about research and research methods help professional. I already mentioned it before that if you are a manager and you also know research very well, then you can be a good consumer of a research. If you consume the research, then only you can help, research can help you in taking decisions. ठीक है? Professional managers can get help from the research. Professional manager identify and effectively solve minor problems in the work setting. Why minor? Because the big problem or the problems which requires a lot of information, lot of great analysis. ठीक है? So that kind of research requires a lot of resources. So with the little resources you have as a manager, you can solve any problem if you know research well. Know how to discriminate good from bad research. If you know research well, you can easily discriminate that this is a bad research. Why? Because it is not a scientific research. Why? Because it is not rigorous, it is not systematic, it is not detailed. ठीक है? So you can easily discriminate good and bad research. Appreciate multiple influences and effects of factors affecting a situation. You can understand what are the factors which may affect any situation. You can take the calculated risk in decision making. Now, being a professional manager who knows the research well, you can take the calculated risk. As I already mentioned, you take the calculated risk. Prevent possible vested interest from exercising their influence in the situation. Okay, the people who have the vested interest, who have the interest to take a particular decision, you can challenge it anytime when you know the research well. Relate to hired researchers and consultant more effectively. Here comes the concept of internal and external researcher. There is a concept in your book of internal, लिख लें अपने पास, write it down. Internal and external researcher. Internal researcher is the one who is already part of a company, be a research and development department or any other department. So he is a part of the organization already in which you are working. It is called internal researcher. So internal researcher, having internal researcher has advantages and disadvantages. One of the advantage, he already knows the organization well. He is already familiar with the people, so he will be quick in communication and acquiring data, acquiring information. Instead, external researcher has few challenges. For example, he cannot get the data quickly, he cannot mingle, he cannot interact with the people quickly. ठीक है? He requires a lot of formality, and there may be a leak of information. If something is critical and some researcher has come out to your company, for example, any company like you see Nielsen, if you have hired the senior research company, then you have to ensure that there is a confidentiality agreement has been signed, because there can be possible leak of information. So you hire a company who is properly following the confidentiality agreement with you. Okay? The benefits could be he would be unbiased, external researcher would be unbiased. Okay? He would suggest you the best possible outcome. Okay? He is not influenced with anyone in the company. There is no vested interest at all. So basically we have a choice of internal and external researcher. Okay? You can always hire the internal or external researcher. Up till here, any questions so far? Manager researcher relationship, there is a trust level, value system. Next, ethics in business research are very, very important. Ethics in business research refers to a code of conduct. So ethics is a code of conduct. Ethics is a code of conduct, that manner. What is the manner? What is your manner? Code of conduct of behavior while conducting research. Okay, what kind of behavior is appropriate is called the business research ethics. Okay, ethical conduct applies to the organization and the members that sponsor the research, the researchers who undertake the research, and the respondents who provide them with the necessary information, necessary data. So ethics applies to the sponsor, the one who is doing the research, the one who is giving the data, the one who is collecting the data, the one who is processing the data. Everyone who is involved in the research has to follow the code of behavior. Okay? Ethical code of behavior. Next, for example, ethical code of behavior is you cannot force anyone to give the response. You cannot force. You cannot influence. You cannot direct. You cannot. I would like to give the example of unethical behavior, that most of the students do not include the third gender in their questionnaire. They always ask students whether they are male or female. So this is unethical. You need to identify all the genders. Okay, when you identify all the genders, so it means you are a researcher, you are not biased, and you are ethical. In Pakistan, there are 600 people who belong to the third gender. So it is the responsibility of an ethical researcher to include them in their research, whether you come across to them or not. It is not necessary that you will get the response from them, but you need to include. Okay, the researcher is always unbiased. Now we are about to study the hypothetico-deductive method. So this is the method which is given by the philosopher, the European philosopher Karl Popper. Next, what he said, Karl Popper said, Austrian philosopher, he said these are the 7 steps, these are the 7 sequential steps which has to follow to solve any problem. Useful systematic approach for generating knowledge to solve basic and managerial problem. So it is the philosophy of a Karl Popper through which you can solve any scientific problem. So any scientific problem can be solved through 7 steps. Write it down, all of them. This is important for your exam. Everyone, hypothetico-deductive method. It is called hypothetico-deductive method. First one is the identify a broad problem area. First one is the identify the broad problem area. Okay. Second one is the define the problem statement. Third is the develop the hypothesis. Fourth is determine measures. Fifth is data collection. Sixth, data analysis. 7th, interpretation of the data. 7, interpretation of the data. Identify a problem, broad problem area. Identify a broad problem area. Okay, let me explain a little for you. When we talk about the identifying a problem area, it means we need to figure out where the problem lies. If you can find out the problem, exact problem, then only you can find the solution. I already discussed this concept before. I am discussing again. The problem area is very important. If you do not find the problem area, then you can never find you can never find the solution. Second is the problem statement. It is the proper defining of the criticality of the problem, the significance of the problem, the already established literature references about the problem, the existing gap in the existing literature about the problem, the gap in the existing literature about the problem. Okay, and at the end you have to define who are the audience of your problem, who will be consuming the research, who will be benefiting from your research. The problem statement is the detail about the problem. I am repeating myself. First you have to tell the criticality, significance of the problem, why it is very, very important problem to solve. Why do you want to solve? Okay, then you will discuss what is already known in the literature, what is already known in the literature. Then you will be talking about what is not available in the literature, what is not available in the literature, what is the gap, what is not discussed in the literature. At the end you will be talking about the audience of the research, who will be benefiting from the research. Okay, like the managers of FMCG industry, the investor of the FMCG industry, the students who are interested in joining the FMCG industry. Okay, so the other employees who are working in the FMCG industry. So if your research is about the FMCG industry, so these will be the audience of your research. So you see, this is the problem statement. I will be introducing you with a problem statement formally, but I am just informally or in a very superficial manner. I tried to establish the problem statement topics. What are the topics included in the problem statement? Next is the hypothesis. Hypothesis is very interesting concept. Hypothesis होता है, in Urdu we call mafruza. Mafruza is the one who mafruza. Hypothesis is the one which we develop on the basis of some logic. On the basis of some logic. When there is no logic, there is no hypothesis. Logic comes with a theory. Logic comes with when there is no theory, there is no hypothesis. So first the hypothesis must be logical, must be based on the theory, and the most important one, it can be tested. God has created this universe. Can it be tested? Can it be tested? No. So this cannot be hypothesis. Anything which cannot be tested can never be hypothesis. I would like to give example of a hypothesis which can be tested. There is no relationship between employee turnover and employee empowerment. There is no relationship between employee empowerment and employee turnover. This is the hypothesis which we already know. Okay, we know that there is no relationship, but we want to test a hypothesis that there is a relationship between the employee empowerment and employee turnover. So when we are not sure that what will be the outcome, then we develop the hypothesis. For example, in our organization, we are not sure that what will be the relationship between the variables. So we go for the hypothesis. The hypothesis is the one which we develop to test the concept, to test the relationships. Okay, let's develop another hypothesis. You develop hypothesis, I will check it out. Hurry up, everyone. There is a relationship between the advertisement and consumer buying. There is a relationship between advertisement and consumer buying. ठीक है, अब आप बताएं any other hypothesis you have in your mind? See, I have made this hypothesis with the logic, advertisement and consumer buying. When there is advertisement, when there is awareness of the brand, then the people would be looking forward to buy the brand. Logic, does it make sense? So with the sense you can develop any habit. जी.
आपका लेक्चर हमारे कॉन्सेप्ट टाइम बाय टाइम क्लियर कर रहा है, तो एक हाइपोथेसिस बना हुआ है.
हाइपोथेसिस बनेगा कि देयर इज अ रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन द क्वालिटी ऑफ लेक्चर एंड अंडरस्टैंडिंग द कॉन्सेप्ट्स. सही, वेरी गुड जी.
Quality product which will affect the customer satisfaction.
वेरी गुड. देयर इज अ रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन द क्वालिटी प्रोडक्ट एंड द कस्टमर सेटिस्फैक्शन. एक्सीलेंट. और बताएं, आप बताएं, सब बनाएं. Everyone has to make the hypothesis. If you cannot make the hypothesis, you cannot understand the concept. Hypothesis is a very, very important concept, because what we do, we test the hypothesis with the data. If you are unable to develop the hypothesis, you can never test the hypothesis. जी बताइए, tell me any hypothesis. जी, there is a relationship between quality products and consumer buying. There is a relationship between consumer buying and packaging. Make sense? जी बिल्कुल ऐसे ही. तो you can make several hypotheses. For example, there is a relationship between the attentive listening and learning. Attentive listening and learning.
So relationship between accounting standard and financial statement.
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सही relationship. अच्छा, when we talk about the relationship, then we need to identify the variables as well. Attentive listening and learning, these are two variables, two factors. There can be a dependent or independent variable. That we will be talking later. ठीक है, I am just introducing the concept that hypotheses always have variables. Hypotheses always have variables. So what we learned so far is we need to identify the problem area, the correct problem area to solve a problem. Second is we need to develop the problem statement, a statement which can describe the problem comprehensively as per the literature. Literature support is mandatory in the problem statement. Without literature support, you can never justify the problem, because something is already done should not be researched again. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. So what does it require? It requires you to cite the literature, that there is a gap in the literature. There is a gap, there is not availability, the solution is not available in the literature. That is why I am conducting this research. Getting up, Ji? What is a theory? Theory is basically a framework through which we